Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin Dobro, and today my video has nothing to do with makeup, as you can tell by the title of it. So long story short, the reason why I'm doing this video is because my Instagram just blew up. So many awesome, sweet people shared the cheetah makeup tutorial, and a lot of people were asking me what happened to me and why I have no arms and legs and why am I covered in scars, and someone even asked if I was dying, and I'm not dying. I'm okay. So I figured I would make this video for anyone who wanted to know what had happened to me. To get the story straight, I guess, because I've seen a lot of articles recently where people have been saying totally wrong things. I don't even know where they got them from. Like, a couple of them said that I've gone to cosmetology school. Never went to cosmetology school. I hate school. Period. So I don't know where these people are getting these things. I don't know. But that's not true. So I wanted to give you guys as much true information as possible, so I just figured I'd make this video. So yeah. And after I got like all of those people asking me what had happened and all their questions and stuff, I decided to make a little Instagram video. And if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen this. I was asking you guys to ask me any questions that you guys might have had regarding my sickness or just me in general. And I just wanted to let you guys know I will be answering those questions in a second video. So this video is going to be a two-parter because this story is going to be super, super long. So I don't know, grab some food or, I don't know, relax. I have no idea. I just know that this video is going to be super long. So go get some pizza or something. Okay, let's get started on... Let's get started on like this whole story. I'm gonna start off with just a little background about me. It'll all tie in the end and it'll make sense because you're probably like wondering like why would I be saying this stuff? It'll make sense in the end. So here we go. So as a kid I did a lot of sports. I did basketball, baseball, soccer, tap dance, ballet, gymnastics, all that good stuff. I'm probably forgetting some, but I pretty much did every single sport known to man. The only one I stuck with was ballet. No. What? The only one I stuck with was tap dancing. And I did that from the age of 3 to 16. You guys will know why that is relevant in a bit. Now skipping over to high school, again, just a little background about me. I was not a nice person. I was very angry in life. So I was just that person that would walk around like wanting something to happen, wanting someone to say something so that I could pretty much rip their head off about it. Or I wanted fights, I wanted drama, I wanted to yell, I wanted to hit people. And little side story, I never got in a fist fight because the one time that I had the opportunity, I cried. I left and I cried. I cried and then I left. So I was literally like a chihuahua, ridiculously unstable. But again, I still had this anger problem and I was still always mad. So I joined a gym that like trained in kickboxing and boxing and MMA and I think other stuff too. But I never actually fought, but I trained there for a while. They had like heavy bags like everywhere. Everywhere. But I just wanted to do that to possibly get some anger out, or it just felt good, like to do something and to hit something. It just felt good. Yeah, so I did that for a year and a half, and I stopped that when I was like 16. So skipping over a year, I guess, to when I was 18, and when I was 18, this is when everything just started to unravel, I guess you could say, or just happen. I mean, I went through my whole high school year, 18, I graduated. Right after I graduated, I moved to Hawaii for 6 weeks. My friend flew me out, he's awesome. Moved back home mid-July, and when I got home, I got a job. And by this point, I don't know why. I don't know particularly what triggered me, because I was like a person that liked to be adventurous and stuff, and my first drug that I ever took was when I was 14, so honestly it doesn't surprise me that I got to this point, but I just don't know why, like, then, like, why I chose to start going nuts and crazy at the age of 18. Maybe it was just because I was 18 and I was free and I moved away and I had a job and I had my own money, so maybe it was just the fact of I could do what I wanted to do. And throughout high school, I never went to parties or anything. I was never really a party girl. I was a mean girl, but I was never really a party girl. I was the type of person that I would rather walk like downtown or around the neighborhood for the whole night and like talking to friends and stuff rather than going out and partying. I don't know, I just wasn't that person. So when I was 18, that just came up and I started to party and I started smoking weed on the daily. And I started taking Oxy, and it started on the weekends. And I remember thinking like making up excuses because I liked the Oxy so much that I was like, okay, let's go to like downtown and take Oxy because we're out and we're having fun even though it's a weekday. And again, that started to become something that I really, really wanted, and I don't know if I was addicted to it because I never stopped. I mean, I didn't stop using it at that point. It was something that I think was growing, and maybe I was addicted to it. I just don't know because I never had that opportunity to stop because I got sick. But anyways, getting ahead of myself. So I was taking all these drugs and not taking care of myself. Long story short. And I don't know if I said this, but this is 8 months prior to getting sick. From July to February. So like an 7 month period. I did all that. And then February comes around, February 2013. And it had to have been in the beginning of February. I got like a flu or a cold or something. I was just sick. And I remember it getting better. But then, like, after, like, a week or two of it getting better, it got worse. Like, it was like one of those things where it's like you get a cold, and it's like, you know you're almost over it, but you're not fully over it. I got to that point, but then I got more sick, which was weird. And I remember thinking, like, this is weird. Like, this shouldn't be happening. I've never had this happen before, but I just didn't think anything of it. I mean, I did, but it wasn't something that made me, like, oh my gosh, something's wrong. It was just like, well, that's weird. Okay, I'm just gonna go back to living my life now. So I went back to living my life. And fast forward 2 days before I got sick. So I got sick February 12th. So 2 days before, the 10th and the 11th. The 10th, I went to a friend's house and we were just smoking weed, and because that's what we did. That's all we did. And I remember getting like a throbbing headache. Like, and I don't get headaches or migraines. I don't even know if I've ever had a migraine in my entire life. So I don't know what a migraine feels like, or a bad headache, or a headache that's not normal. So I had this throbbing headache and I had to leave early. I asked my friend's boyfriend, like, hey, can you take me home? Like, I just don't feel good. So I go to sleep, I go home, go to sleep, wake up, feel fine. And I'm like, okay, maybe it was just a fluke, you know, like maybe that's just what a really bad headache feels like. And that day I had work. So I had plans to go out downtown that night. And I remember texting my friend saying, I don't feel very good, but I'm going to go to work and I'm still going to try to make it tonight. So I go to work, and when I first woke up, I felt pretty good. Like, I felt normal and I felt fine. But as the day progressed on, I just got more and more exhausted and more just, everything felt like a dream. You know what I mean? So everything started to get a little fuzzy, and I got off at like 11 o'clock at night. And my friend came to pick me up, and she was saying, like, okay, what do you want to do? We can go to the gym or we can go out. And I was like thinking, I don't really want to do either, but the gym sounds less intense. Because like, when we go downtown, we're always like walking and walking and walking and walking and walking. And the gym, it's like you can work out or you can just chill. So I was like, I choose the gym. So we went to the gym, and usually I could do like, say, 30-45 minutes on the elliptical, and then we would go to like weightlifting upstairs. And I could weightlift a lot with my legs. I was not a very big upper strength person. I always had pretty intense leg muscles, and so I could bench with my legs like 200 and something. I think it was like 230 or something. But this time when we went to the gym, I went on the elliptical for like 10 minutes, and that was like a struggle. I think I remember at like 8 minutes I was like, I'm so done. Like, me being me, I'm a pusher. Like, I push myself, and I'm very like, if I have a headache, I'm like, it'll be gone, whatever, let's just move on. Let's go on with my life. So I'm like missing all of these signs that I'm pretty badly sick, because I'm just gonna keep going, I'm gonna be fine, tomorrow I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna be good. So I got on the elliptical for like 10 minutes, and then I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm so done, I'm exhausted. And then we go upstairs to the weightlifting thing, and just going up the stairs alone, I was like, ugh, like that's the rest of my workout for a year. Like, I was just done. And again, like, I used to weightlift with my legs like over 200 pounds. And this time I went up the stairs, and I was like, I didn't even know, like, could I make it back down the stairs? Like, I needed to just rest. So my friend did the weightlifting stuff and did all her things, and I just waited. I didn't do anything else besides the elliptical. And then again, we would usually go like to the sauna afterwards, and I was like, no, I'm done. I want to go home. And so when we're on our way home, I remember like being like freezing. Like, I was freezing. So I finally get home and realized that I'd only eaten like an orange and a protein bar all day. And by this time it's like midnight, 1 o'clock. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I need to eat something. Like, I know that my body doesn't want it, and I know I feel sick, but I need to eat something. So I had lunch meat, and I had to literally like gag that down. I would just felt so sick. I was like, I can't. So I ate as much lunch meat as possible, which was like 1 slice, maybe 2, I don't even remember. And I like should be starving, and if you guys know me, I am a foodie. Like, I love food. Food is like everything. And so yeah, that was like really weird. So I go upstairs, and I'm still freezing, like ridiculously freezing. And so I put on 2 leggings, sweatpants, a shirt, and 2 sweatshirts. And I went to bed like that. And again, it was a severe fever. So I was totally like oblivious to anything that was going on, like any signs that I was ridiculously ill. It's like I had to have known that I was sick, but for some reason I just was like, I'm just gonna keep going on with my life, and this is how it's gonna be, and I'm not gonna worry about it. And I'm freezing, so, and I don't know if that, like, my brain was all foggy or something, because, I mean, I'm not stupid, so usually I think I would catch something like that and be like, yo, something's not right, should probably go to the hospital, but I just didn't. So a couple hours later, I wake up in the middle of the night, and I just puke. It, like, woke me up out of a sleep. I was sweating my butt off because I had all these clothes on me. I like ripped off every single clothing, and then my stomach was ridiculously expanded. Like, I want to say, like, I looked like I was pregnant, like 8 months. So it was bad. Like, it was just very expanded. And I've seen my stomach do that once, but that was only when I drank too much and I threw up. So again, didn't think anything was wrong, like, at all. No, my stomach's only expanded to make myself look like I'm like 9 months pregnant. That's normal. What the heck? No. But so I threw up, and that was at like 4 in the morning. And I go back to sleep, wake up at 9, and that's weird because I would usually sleep in for hours. Like, I would sleep in until like 1 in the afternoon, sometimes 3. And I just like remember I woke up and I was just exhausted. Like, I just didn't feel right. And I didn't say this in the beginning of the story, but I didn't have my job for that long. I was fairly new. Like, I had just gotten out of training. I think I worked a couple shifts by myself. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try and go to work today and all this stuff. So 9 o'clock, again, 9 o'clock in the morning, I go to my mom's room, say I don't feel very well. Go back into my room. She brings me a popsicle. Can barely even keep that down, like, at all. Like, I took like 2 licks of it and was like, I'll finish that later. Then my mom gave me some Advil to help with whatever was wrong with me. And then I had to go to the bathroom. And I stand up, and the first thing that happens to me is like my knees like wobble. Like, they almost buckle underneath me. And I'm like, that's super weird. Like, that's super, super weird. And I walk into my bathroom, and we have this scale to weigh myself. And it was kind of in the way, but this is my home, so I know it's there. And this is where like the tap dancing and boxing come into play, because throughout my whole life I've always had great balance. So for me, when I walked into my bathroom, I totally like forgot the scale was there, stepped on it, and almost face planted it on my bathroom floor. So that was like weird on its own, because it's like I've tripped over that before. I've stepped on it. It has scared the crap out of me before, but I've never actually like almost fallen. I've tripped on it, I've stumbled on it, but I've never actually almost like face planted it on that. So I go back into my room, go back into my bed, and I'm just laying there, and my mom comes back in my room, and she is asking me like, are you okay? How are you feeling? And I'm like, I don't feel very good. So she gave me more Advil, and she saw these bruises on the left side of my face and on the left side of my leg. And she was like, well, where did those come from? And me being me, I was thinking, well, maybe I was drunk or something, I don't know, even though they weren't there before. So I had no idea where the bruises came from. I was so out of it. And my mom had always had this irrational fear, well, not obviously not irrational, pretty rational fear of me getting bacterial meningitis. And my mom, like, at this time was thinking, like, well, this is it, you know, like, holy crap, this is it. She has bacterial meningitis. And my mom works for, like, medical transcription, so she knows some stuff, and she likes to learn about that stuff. She likes to learn about medicines and illnesses and things like that. So she was like, oh my gosh, this is bacterial meningitis. Like, I just know it. I know it. And so my mom's asking me, do you want to go to the hospital? And I was like, I don't feel good enough to go to the hospital. I don't feel good enough to get into a car and drive to the hospital. I just can't. So my mom calls the ambulance, and they're asking me, like, have you taken any drugs? What have you been doing? You know, like, just asking questions and stuff. And my mom is, like, right there, and I'm like, I've taken Oxy. Like, I'm trying, like, not to get in trouble. And from 9 a.m. when I first woke up to the point of the ambulance being at my house, it was like noon when they came to my house. So by noon, they asked me, like, could you get out of bed and walk down the stairs? And 3 hours later, from being able to walk to my bathroom and walk back to my room, I could not stand at all. I could not even sit up. Like, I was just, my body was just dying from the inside out. So the paramedics had to get like this sling thing that was kind of like a chair and take me down the stairs, because I couldn't walk, I couldn't stand, I couldn't even sit up, like, to be like, oh yeah, here, let me help you. Like, I was dead weight. Like, I was done for. So I get into the ambulance, and the paramedic people are like, you can relax now, you're okay, you're in good hands. And so I relaxed. I really relaxed. I think I blacked out, actually, because I don't remember the whole ride. I remember being in there and them starting to drive. Then next thing you know, I'm in like my own room in a hospital, and I'm like, okay. And I am like shaking. I was like as stiff as a board, and I was like not moving. I knew that my insides were dying. I knew that I was dying, and I was in so much pain, but I don't remember the pain. Like, your body just goes into shock. So it's like you don't feel as much or remember as much. Your body just starts shutting down. So a nurse comes in. I don't remember anything that she said. Probably along the lines of, what's your pain on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being the worst. And I was probably like, 50! Like, just 50! But then I remember her telling me that she needs to give me a catheter. I was like, okay. And if you don't know what a catheter is something that goes up your urethra, where you pee from. So that you don't have to get up and go on the toilet. It just kind of goes through the tube and goes into a bag. I remember her saying that, and I was freaked out. So I think I blacked out again. And then next thing you know, I'm in my own little personal hospital room. And I remember just being like, okay. Like, when you're going through this much stuff, and when you have bacterial meningitis, it fogs your brain so much that you don't really have many emotions going through, like where am I, where did I go, what place am I at, like it's like you don't think that, you don't freak out about it. It's just like you're so foggy, it's like you're in a dream. You could care less where you are or what you're doing or who you're with. It's just, but at one point I did care if my mom was there or not, because I was freaked out a little bit, because I just like woke up in like a dark room and it was like pitch black. I'm like, okay, I guess it's nighttime. Okay, I'm just gonna go back to sleep now. Like, who knows? It was probably in the middle of the day. I have no idea. But I think it was like 2 or 3 days at the first hospital, and they diagnosed me with bacterial meningitis. And if you don't know what bacterial meningitis is, all I know is that it's a ridiculous bacteria that can either make you go blind, deaf, lose limbs, be brain dead, like, or just die. So it's not a good bacteria. So I'm there at the first hospital for a couple days, and then they transfer me to a different hospital. And in that hospital, the second hospital, I was there for 6 months. I had a total of 22 surgeries, and my skin, like, you know those bruises I was talking about earlier? Those bruises just appeared all over my body, head to toe. I don't know if I'm allowed to have pictures or anything because they're pretty gruesome, but I have pictures on my Instagram of that, so you guys can see it if you want to see pictures. So this is where I think I'm just going to be listing off pretty much the bad things that were going on within those 6 months. Where to start? So first off, my skin started to get boils, like 3rd-degree burns, boils on me. And those would pop, and that skin would just come off where the boils were and where the bruises were. The skin just came right off. And from that skin coming off, 57% of my skin was gone. So if you think of like a paper cut and it becomes raw skin and how sensitive that is, that was all over 57% of my skin. And the 57% of my bacteria infected skin would never grow back. So most of the surgeries that I had were taking good skin with sort of like a cheese grater thing and just slicing off a piece of skin, perforating it, which means they just put a bunch of holes in it so that they can stretch the skin out and then attach that to the infected skin. I guess putting my good skin on that part that was infected made skin grow. So, and that is why I have like diamond shapes. So those diamond shapes are the holes that they poked into the piece of skin that they took from normal skin that was on my body. I'm hoping this makes any sense. But yeah, so that's why some parts look like diamonds and why some parts just look messed up. Like, just like scarred. And it's weird because I guess the parts that were just scarred, it wasn't as deep, so the infected skin did grow back normal skin. So I have a bunch of different scars on me, I mean random scars, and then on the parts of my skin that weren't affected at all have scars on them because they had to take that good skin and put that and make that diamond shape. So pretty much all of my skin was gone. So that was most of my surgeries, most of the 21 surgeries. Within the first 2 weeks, my arms had to be amputated. I remember my fingers being black and shriveled up like a mummy. Like, my fingers were so skinny and they were black and they were just dead and they were curled underneath themselves. So I had no strength to even open up my hand, and they eventually turned gray. I had dried gangrene. They said once it turns wet gangrene, that's when they know that there's like no hope for him to become revived, I guess you could say. So yeah, that's within the first 2 weeks. The disease eats wherever it wants to eat. You could have like cut off like my hand on the first day and it would have eaten up to wherever it wanted to eat up. And the reason for my hands turning black and losing circulation and stuff is I did not only have bacterial meningitis, but the bacterial meningitis turned into sepsis, which it creates blood clots throughout your whole body, and that just cut off the circulation to my limbs and they died. So in reality, oh my gosh, like the arms are so freaking heavy. When they're dead weight, they are so heavy. My mom and my dad and the doctors are even like, let's just wait at least a week before we amputate them because we want to see if blood flow will come back or if the blood clots will go away and, you'll have more of your arms left. And I was just like, no, I just want them gone. Like, they are so heavy. They are so inconvenient. When I wanted to move, like, my arm, I didn't just pick up my arm and move. I had to flop it. Like, I literally was like, ugh. Like, it was heavy. Like, arms are heavy. Like, they are really heavy. We just don't notice it. So that happened. And then they amputated my legs, which, I mean, you guys don't see, but, I mean, I'm below knee, so I still have my knee. I don't know if you guys can tell. Yeah, you guys mostly only see my top half. So yeah, I have no arms and no legs on both sides. Yeah, so below knee on both knees, and they're actually even, so that's awesome. The disease decided to stop equally on both sides. Thank God for that. So I think that's like just about the gist of what happened, like the main stuff that happened. Now I can tell you guys horror stories. So the first thing is, with no skin, you are very, very easily pretty much open to getting any infection, and I did not need any more infection on top of anything else. So every day in the evening around like 6, my nurses would get a bucket of bleach and water mixture, a really rough towel. They unbandage me all over my body. You guys are probably knowing where I'm going with this. And scrub at my raw skin so that no infection happens. And my God. I don't remember like the feeling because I was on so many drugs, but just the thought of it, it's like, it makes me cringe. It makes me cringe. It's like, nah, so gross. So they did that every day for 6 months until I guess I was fully healed. They did that on any and all places that were open. And I mean, I got some infections while I was in the hospital. Even with all that, I don't remember, I think it's called Pseudomonas. Things are coming out of the cobwebs of my head, my mind. And so I could smell my skin, like dying, and underneath the bandages. And it smells like gross bread, like really old, vinegary, grapey bread. I don't know how to explain it. It's disgusting. And I couldn't like get away from it, so I just had to like take very short breaths. So another horror story. One thing that happened to me that wasn't supposed to happen to me, that was more of an accident rather than a cause of the bacteria, was they had like a central line in my neck. And a central line is pretty much like an IV, but it goes into your like main huge veins, and it was in my skin pretty much for a long time. Sorry, I had a burp. But when they wanted me in like a different bed, or I was going to surgery or something, I had so many like tubes in me that they had to unhook them. So I still had the tubes in me, but they just weren't connected to anything. And there was like this lift team where they were like big guys, like beefy guys, and they would lift me out of my bed and put me in a different bed or gurney or whatever they were doing. So long story short, someone forgot to unhook my central line out of my neck. So when they moved me from one bed to a gurney, it didn't just tug on my central line, it got ripped out, like all the way out of my neck. So they eventually, once that happened, they put the central line here, whatever that's called. I don't know, clavicle, I don't know. Yeah, so that was another horror story that happened. And I mean, I still kind of have the scars from it. I don't know if you guys will be able to tell. I don't know, like they're like 4 dots or something. Because the central line is not just like taped over like a regular IV. I think they actually like sew or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm just totally just making this up, or this is what I imagined or something. I have no idea. But anyways, that got ripped out of my neck. So, and then that healed and that was fine and all that good stuff. Okay, next horror story. I had this thing in my throat and it is called a tracheostomy. Yeah, and they had that mostly because I was having so many surgeries that if they kept putting that tube down my throat every day my throat would be ruined. So they had to cut, I don't know if you guys can see, but that scar that's like in my throat a little bit, they cut that open and then put this tracheostomy thing in there. So that was not fun. That thing was in there for 4 months at this time, let's say. They're like, okay, we want to downsize you on the size of the tracheostomy because I was healing, I was getting better. They wanted to start taking me off some IVs, learning how to eat again, learning how to go to the bathroom again. That's surprisingly hard. Like, I had to relearn how to pee. But anyways, besides that fact, they wanted to downsize the tracheostomy, so the skin had overgrown on the inside over the tracheostomy because, again, it's been in there for so long. And they couldn't do anything besides ripping it out. So, again, another thing got ripped out of my neck, and they just, like, ripped it. I don't remember it hurting, but I remember being freaked out by this point. Blood just started, like, shooting out. And so I started coughing, and then more blood started shooting out. I'm like, and I can't talk. So I was freaking out. I was freaking out. So yeah, that was one horror story. Another horror story, they just keep coming. One time from one of my surgeries, the surgery was done, everything was done, but they didn't give me enough anesthetic, so I woke up after the surgery was done, which doesn't sound scary, right? It's like, okay, it's normal, but they also give you a paralytic and they tape your eyes shut, and with that tracheostomy thing, they hook you up to something that breathes for you. So before I was taken off all that stuff and before the paralytic wore off, I woke up, but I couldn't open my eyes, I couldn't breathe, and I couldn't move. I remember seeing like shadows or something because I was like trying to pry open my eyes for like my life. Because I was just like, I just couldn't. I couldn't open my eyes. And for one, that freaked me out. So I opened my eyes like enough to be able to see like shadows and shapes of people. And again, I couldn't talk. So I tried talking because I was freaking out. I don't know what's going on. And they didn't hear anything, but I think they left, and that freaked me out even more. So I tried to move, but I couldn't move. I was on paralytic. And I was hyperventilating at this point. But again, I was pretty much fighting with a machine to breathe because it was trying to breathe for me, but I was awake at this point, so I could breathe on my own. So, and I think I honestly passed out from an anxiety attack, like, because next thing you know, I just passed out. And so literally after that, every single time, like, I would go in for another surgery, they would put me on the table, and I would start having bronchospasms, which, like, I guess there's something in your lungs that your lungs just tighten up, and you can't breathe. So it's pretty much like an anxiety attack again. And I don't know how many times that happened, but eventually that happened like often enough that my lung collapsed because I was freaking out. And so they figured out this plan that they would knock me out in my room instead of me being able to feel like the cold, like surgery table. So that was another horror story. Another horror story was I don't know what they were doing, honestly. I don't know what they were doing, but they were doing something with like my throat. They had this camera down my throat, and they're like, okay, you're gonna have to hold your breath for this whole time that we have this in your throat. Okay. Great. So they put this thing down my throat, and they're like doing something on the computer and seeing stuff and doing medical things. And they're like, oh wait, stop, what's that? And I'm sitting there holding my breath, and I'm like freaking out because I can't breathe. So yeah, that happened. But they eventually, obviously, when they realized that I was freaking out, they're like, okay, no, take it out, she can't breathe. And I was like, like literally the most satisfying breath ever. And I mean, I think that's about it for the horror stories and anything in general. So yeah, I think I'm gonna end my story here. I hope you guys enjoyed this story video. And again, this is a two-parter video, so if you want to see your questions being answered, they're in the other video. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much, and have a great rest of your day. Bye. The TV's breathing. What? Insane. Okay. Oh my god. Like, a wave. Oh, yeah.